أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, fear Allah. O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah. O you who believe, have God consciousness as God deserves to have God consciousness of. Have God consciousness as Allah deserves it. Have taqwa as Allah deserves it. Fear God as He deserves it. And if you are to die, die only in the state of Islam. Die only in the state of peace. Die only in the state of surrender to Him, He who controls all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dearly respected brothers and sisters in Islam, we praise and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for joining us here in this beautiful masjid on this beautiful and blessed Friday. We praise and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the will and the opportunity to be here. Because thousands upon thousands of Muslims throughout the world either don't have the will or don't have the ability to be at the masjid for Jama'ah Salah. So we constantly have to remember to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this will, giving us this ability to be here at this time, leaving our work, leaving our obligations for Him and Him alone. My dearly respected brothers and sisters, a guest has arrived. We've experienced it for a whole week now. And as the first week of Ramadan comes to an end, we have to remember that this guest is someone who's going to be parting us very soon. So we have to remind ourselves, each and every one of us, of the benefit of this month of Ramadan. We have to remind ourselves of why we fast, of what it brings, and why we do this. Why is it that we go from sun up to sun down and don't go without food, without water, without our own personal desires? Why is it that we abstain from all of this? And many times what I hear when I have this discussion with my Muslim brothers and sisters in the youth, they tell me that the main reason for this is just because we want to experience what the poor are experiencing. We want to experience what the hungry are experiencing. But my dear brothers and sisters, this month is not just for us to experience hunger. This month is not meant for us to experience thirst. This month it's not a month for us to experience the want and the need. No, but instead it's a month that is supposed to bring us closer to the one who created us. It's supposed to help us realize who He is and what benefit He gives us, and be thankful to Him day after day. So inshallah today's khutbah will cover this. In Surah Al-Baqarah verse 183, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed to those before you, that you may learn self-restraint, so that we can learn to control ourselves. And that's the most difficult challenge of all. Subhanallah, I will not be the one to come tell you that you need to do this, because I will bring out my own shortcomings first. I know my own shortcomings, and this month is meant to be a month for me to overcome those shortcomings, to overcome my own self, to overcome my need of pride, to overcome my need of authority, to overcome my need of patience, to be patient constantly throughout my day. My dear brothers and sisters, for those of us that are enjoying our fast, we enjoy the satisfaction that we are giving up our delicious food and drink, our leisures and amusements, so that we can please our Lord and our Sustainer. Allah tells us in the Holy Book, all other duties concern the poor, the needy, our families and ourselves, but fasting is done for Allah alone. So my dear brothers and sisters, if a non-Muslim asks you, or even your Muslim brothers or sister, or your children ask you, your siblings ask you, why do I fast? Tell them you fast for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't give them the excuse that you're fasting to experience what the poor experience. Don't give them the excuse that we're fasting because we want to stop ourselves and we want to just do this because we have to. No, give them the reason that we're fasting day after day, night after night, for 30 days straight, 29 days straight, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to please Him and Him alone. My dear brothers and sisters, we must always bear in mind that the purpose of our fasting is not only to stay hungry and thirsty. but it's to be conscious of Allah at all times. Fasting teaches us to tame ourselves, tame our lower selves, our lower passions. This is the lower self that clinges to the earth. How many of us can say that we don't clinge to this earth? I do. And subhanAllah, if you go outside, we look at the number of cars that are out there, we look at the clothes that we're wearing, we clinge to this earth. We care a lot about this earth. Thousands upon thousands of Muslims who were given the opportunity who were given the ability but did not have the will to be here, they are clinging to this earth. Their lower self has taken so much control of them that it's sad to see them, that they're not here in this beautiful place, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Out of all salahs, Jum'ah salah is the one salah where you're supposed to be in the masjid. You're required to be in the masjid. And we have many people who say, I'm just going to pray at the office. It's too far of a drive. The khatib takes too long. The announcements afterwards are very long. Or that the parking lot gets so full, I'm not going to get to work. I'm not going to be able to eat food and then get to work. So subhanAllah, this month should be that month where you ignore all your obligations here in this dunya to remember your obligation in the akhirah. Your obligation to the akhirah. Because my brothers and sisters, if we lose the opportunity here, we're going to lose it up afterwards up there. And we don't want to be of any of those people who lose the opportunity to be up there in the highest of heavens. My dear brothers and sisters, fasting helps us to be disciplined. It helps us to strengthen our conscience, the higher self. This is the self this is the self-reproaching nafs. This is the higher self that constantly blames itself and seeks to put right on all the errors and sins of the lower self. Throughout our lives we struggle with this great jihad, this self-struggle of trying to control our desires, our passions, so that our thoughts, our words, and our actions are only good and pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once the Muslims returned from battle, the Prophet ﷺ told them, you have completed the lesser jihad. Now you must engage in the greater jihad, which is the struggle to control and purify oneself. My dear brothers and sisters, the very first point on why we fast is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to purify ourselves, to clean and enrich our hearts, to purify and remove the dirty and the wrong and the hate and the pleasures of this dunya and replace it with the good, with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, with characteristics of a balanced believer, with these characteristics that uplift you, that bring you peace, that bring you serenity and bring you happiness. That is the goal of this month. And this is not only for this month, my dear brothers and sisters. It's not only 29 days that we're going to be, I'm going to be the best Muslim that I can. I'm going to come to the masjid every single fajr. I'm going to come to the masjid every isha. I'm going to pray 20 rak'ahs of taraweeh, of qiyam. This isn't the only month to do this, my dear brothers and sisters. But we have an entire year. This month is supposed to be that spiritual high. This is supposed to be that boost. It's supposed to accelerate you until the next Ramadan. So don't miss out. We've already crossed through 7 days. We don't want to miss out on the rest of the 23. We have 23 days, my dear brothers and sisters, of bringing back that spirituality in ourselves so that we can be the best that we are for Allah's sake for the rest of the year. Because I promise you, it is going to be more and more difficult for us to do what we are doing now outside of Ramadan. There's no obligation there. There's no fard there. It's a sunnah. How many of us, myself included, can say that I fast every Monday and Thursday because it's the sunnah of the Prophet? How many of us say that we're going to fast the 6th day of Shawwal and we end up pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and then we're like, next year inshallah. It happens every year. It happens to me as well. We get so caught up in this dunya that we forget about our obligations to the akhirah, our obligations towards the akhirah. My dear brothers and sisters, we have to remember one thing, and it is that this lifelong struggle is something that is going to be there. This month alone, the shaitan is locked up. But what about the other 11? Where's the shaitan? He's out and about. So we have to constantly remember, we have to constantly guard ourselves by saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. By saying, I take refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan. We have to constantly keep that in mind, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to hold us accountable for our actions. Not only in this month, but in the months afterwards. So take advantage of this month as best as you can. Take advantage of this month. Say A'udhu Billah. Increase in your dhikr. Increase in your remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We live in California, and traffic in California is known to be the worst, other than New York. So we know this. So why is it that instead of on our rides to our offices, instead of on our drives to our iftars, our drives home, our drive to school, why is it that we can't remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but instead we could remember lyrics of Despacito by Justin Bieber, or lyrics of the new song by X, Y, and Z, or so and so. We have to increase in our ibadat. We have to increase in our dhikr. We have to increase in our remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is the month to do so. In this month, if you start something, I promise you it's going to be easier for the rest of the 10 months. If you can come to the masjid now for Fajr and for Maghrib and for Isha and for Qiyam every single night, then you can do it for the rest of the year. It should not be that difficult. My dear brothers and sisters, let us try building on the things that we learned from this month, build on it for the rest of the year. We want to spend our lives purifying our thoughts and words and actions, so that when we die of a purified heart and soul. When our ruh, our soul, returns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we want it to be as pure and as clean as possible. As pure and as clean as the day we were born. As pure and as clean as the day that we, inshallah, our Hajj got accepted. As pure and as clean as the day that, inshallah, each and every one of us get the opportunity to kiss that black stone. We want it to be like that every single day. We want it to be like that, especially when we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my dear brothers and sisters, this is the month to do so. This is that month. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, in Surah Al-Fajr, He says, O purified soul, well pleased with yourself and well pleasing to me, enter you among my devotes, enter my garden. This is what we want to hear. This is what we want to hear from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the day we return to Him. Instead of hearing this sad verse, this scary verse from Surah Al-Hujurat, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks hellfire, do you have more room? Can you take more? And hellfire responds in that very same verse, are there any more? My dear brothers and sisters, hellfire is vast, but we have this beautiful opportunity this month to make it to Jannah. And not only make it to Jannah, as many of the scholars, as many of the khatibs in the past have reminded us, it is not that we should wish for the lowest. Wish for the highest. Aim for the highest. Aim for Jannat al-Firdaus. Because anything lower than that is going to be okay. Anything a little lower than that will be okay. But there's nothing higher than that. When we're taking a test and when we're in school, when we're going for a job, we don't go for the job that gives us the least. We go for the job that gives us the most. We to the opportunity cost of what gives us the most. So why not apply that in our Islam? Why not apply that in our lives here? Why not apply that when it comes down to our deen? Aim for Jannat al-Firdaus. Aim to be at the masjid every night for Qiyam, for Isha, for Fajr. And inshallah, if you miss it, know that you still have that opportunity to do it at home. Just don't skip out on it entirely. My dear brothers and sisters, Ramadan is also a time for us to remember those who are fasting every day. It is a time for us to remember them in a sense where we remember that it's not it's not their choice. Our choice to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to not eat and not drink. But there are thousands upon thousands of Muslims throughout the world who don't have that choice. SubhanAllah, I was watching a video on Facebook where it showed a iftar in Saudi Arabia, a table filled. It was a king's table. As I'm saying, there was plenty of food to feed even this masjid. And then it switched to a clip in Africa where it showed that one small tray of rice fed 15 people. My dear brothers and sisters, this is a time for us to remember that we have blessings. We have blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. The fact that we're breathing, the fact that we're seeing, the fact that we're able to wear these clothes on our backs, the cars we drive, the fact that we have food every single day outside of Ramadan and even during Ramadan. The fact that this beautiful masjid and this beautiful center of ours provides us iftar and dinner, provides us a place for us to be safe, Provides us a place where we can constantly come and know that there are going to be no issues. Know that we can be protected from the hate and the diminishing words of outside. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given that to us. Are we grateful to Him? Are we returning that favor to Him? Are we returning that favor if we can financially? Are we returning that favor through our skills, through our assets, through our own backs, sweat and tears? Are we doing our part, my dear brothers and sisters, during this Ramadan? Because I promise you, not only this center, but every single center you go to does not run on any support of anyone else, but other than you and me and everyone here. So when it comes down to it, we have to watch out for our center. We have to remember to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the gift He gave us, for this room, this building that He gave us. Please, my dear brothers and sisters, take this as a reminder for you to make the best out of this Ramadan. Take this as a reminder to you to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything that He has given you. And constantly give back what He has given you. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to break your wallet just because you gave in His sake. Instead, He will increase you constantly. And we may not see it now, but down the years, when we return to Him, we'll for sure see it, inshallah. My dear brothers and sisters, how many times do we say these words? That surely we must have some effect on our behavior. If we are conscious of the meaning, surely compassion and mercy must flow through our words and actions. And my dear brothers and sisters, I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of letting my own self take advantage of me, so much so that I say things that I shouldn't. So much so that words that come out of my mouth are not as compassionate as they should. So much so that when I speak, people hear it wrong, or I say it too harshly, and people take it the wrong way. My dear brothers and sisters, let this month be that guide for us to be timid in our voices, to be timid in our actions, to be calm and collected throughout this Ramadan and throughout the rest of our lives. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, this beautiful month, this beautiful gift of ours is going to depart in 23 days. And please, I urge you, and a reminder to myself before all of you, is to take advantage of these 23 days. Take advantage of it so much so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to give you opportunity after opportunity, ability after ability to make the best of the rest of the year, to make the best of the rest of our lives. My dear brothers and sisters, this month is not going to go so fast. It's not going to go slow. We're already on our 7th day, and I feel like just yesterday was the May 26th, and we were on our first night of Taraweeh. And subhanAllah, 7 days have passed. Since these 7 days have passed, ask yourself this: have I done my ibadat? Have I remembered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on every opportunity that I get? Have I been calm and timid? Have I controlled my lower self? Have I given my upper self the ability to do good over and over again? How have I been with my brothers and sisters at the masjid, outside the masjid? How have I been with my brothers and sisters in this community, in this ummah? How do I respond outside when my fast is getting to me and I'm tired and I'm exhausted? Do I step away from a conversation, or am I confrontational? My dear brothers and sisters, forget about if you did anything wrong in these past 7 days. Forget about if you had shortcomings in these past 7 days. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us of our shortcomings in these past 7 days, in this past year, and in our past life until this point. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability and give us the opportunity to do more and more good over and over again. My dear brothers and sisters, as this time passes, please remember to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please remember to educate the youth. Remember to educate your younger siblings. Educate yourselves and your brothers and sisters on the benefit of this month, on why we fast. Because the true answer is that for every person that says we're fasting just to experience what the poor and hungry are experiencing, it hurts our ummah. It hurts our ummah because the people outside, the people in our youth will not properly have that foundation of Ramadan in them. The foundation of why is it that I'm not eating? Why is it that I'm not drinking? My dear brothers and sisters with kids, with younger siblings, encourage them to fast at least half a day, quarter day. Get them into that spirit. And please, remember your centers. Remember your community. Because this community is built upon ourselves. This is not a masjid or a mosque in a sense where we just come here to pray and that's it. No, this is a community center. This is where all of us should come. This is where all of us should gather. This is where all of us should be with one another. This is where if one person in the community is hurting, it is as if the entire community is hurting. This is where, as if one person is ill, the entire community is ill. This is where one person is financially in trouble, the entire community is financially in trouble. So please remember your center. Please remember during this blessed month of Ramadan, the next 23 days, to give as much as you can. Whether it's through money, whether it's through donations, whether it's through your own ibadat in this masjid, let it be that. The least you can do is say Alhamdulillah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this place, gave us this safe haven. That's the least that we can do, is come here, sit down in the peace and serenity and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us and forgive us of all of our shortcomings. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the will and the ability to make it to every Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the will and ability to make it to every single Jum'ah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the will and ability to control our lower selves. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us and forgive us of all of our shortcomings in the past and give us opportunity after opportunity in the next 23 days to be the best that we can be. To make ourselves great again. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure all the ill in our community. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide all those who are in suffering, guide them to safety. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect all of our brothers and sisters overseas, wherever they may be, those locally and overseas. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them His protection, shower them with His blessings, and to ensure their safety and safe travels. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive each and every one of us of our own shortcomings, and for each and every one of us to be timid and patient and to be the best during these next 23 days and during the rest of the year. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك الرحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقيم الصلاة.